All right, so now you're ready to get outside the building. Now, as I said, the things you're looking for are either in-person interviews or Skype conversations or Google Hangout. And so what you're looking to do inside an interview is first introduce yourself. Why are you here? What are you looking for? And I have to tell you that these discovery interviews are really sometimes very disconcerting, particularly in large companies where they can't believe you don't want to sell them something. In fact, they're kind of looking around for, where's the product, where's the demo, where's the PowerPoint? And so therefore it's kind of helpful to explain, listen, I'm happy to try to sell you something, but I'm really here to listen to you because I'm trying to understand how your business works and potentially how can I make it better. So setting that scene both in phone calls or emails and when you set up the meeting, or else you might end up with 15 people in a boardroom expecting a major presentation. You want to make these as casual as you can make them. And in fact, if you're going into large companies, instead of meeting in someone's office, meeting in the cafeteria or taking them out for coffee, kind of reduces the formal, give me the presentation style that people tend to expect. So one of the great questions in trying to get these interviews and get these meetings is, there's just 3 of us. Why would they even take a meeting? And there's a couple ways to do that. Number one is if you're a venture-funded company, you could always drop the names of your VC firm and your advisors, and you have this cloud of whatever, and people are impressed, and that's great. And if you're the 0.001% of the startups in the world, then you don't have this problem. But what if there really are 3 of you, and this is before you've raised any money? Well, instead of telling people that you're there and they ought to take the meeting because you're important, you need to convince them that they want the meeting because you think they're important. And for most human beings, hearing and understanding that someone wants to listen to them talk about their industry or their business actually pushes a button that doesn't get pushed most of the time in a company. Particularly if you remember, I suggested you start with mid-level management rather than the top of the organization. A lot of mid-level managers never get asked for their opinion at all. And so if you make this clear that I'm not here to sell you, I've actually heard that you were pretty smart and you understand a lot about how your department works or your company works or your technology works, I'm really trying to learn. And typically, I suggest to startups that you're really honest, that we're really trying to learn about whether what we're building is what we think we have here, which is something that will radically change your job, your company, and your industry. When you first start discovery, you'll probably be like me when I first started. I actually would go in and hold a list of questions to myself, going down the list, making sure I asked all the questions the same way to all the customers. But after you get more comfortable in discovery, it becomes a lot more fun. Because this time, you'll let the conversation flow where it's going to go, making sure you cover the key parts about tell me about your company and tell me about how you do your job and what kind of pricing, but you won't be so rigid about what order you ask them. And that's when some of the interesting things come out is a potential customer might say, yeah, this is kind of important. And after you've asked this question a lot, you might say, yeah, but it looks like you're trying to tell me something else. Yeah, well, listen, it doesn't seem like you guys are solving anything like this, but boy, if you could solve this problem, we'd pay $1 million for that. Let me tell you, $1 million, you got my attention. What is that problem? That's a great way to eventually let the conversations go where they want to go. 90% of the time, that was a wasted time. But it's that 10% that you're looking for that turns Groupon from the pizza company into the $1 billion company, or Odeo into Twitter. Those are the insights you're looking for. So one other thought about getting out of the building in these interviews is, if you're an engineer, it's really easy to understand and ask all the technical questions. But what you're really trying to train yourself to listen for is those market and customer and industry insights that, gee, too bad you're not doing X because the competitors today don't do that. Or too bad, you're not doing X. Or maybe, holy cow, you guys do X? And you were thinking it was about the top 12 features and they're talking about that you have a great UI. Wow, that's something you never would have understood back in the building where you were coding. And that's the intent of getting out of the building and talking to customers. So one of the interesting questions is, should you record the interviews? That is, should you use some kind of electronic media? Should you bring a camera? Should you, start taking notes? One of the best ways to record an interview is not only pencil and paper, but I always put a portable device on the desk and ask permission, of course, of whether you could record the interaction. And when the interview is done, I ask the customer permission to take their picture of either them or outside their office or something interesting in their company or their house or whatever, because it actually puts a face to the notes.